Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us back. I'm Dr. Jayashree Patnaik, Assistant Professor in the Department of Entrepreneurship and Management, and I welcome you all to the book launch event of Engineered in India From Dreams to Billion-dollar Cyient, organized as a part of Innovation Day at Indian Institute of Technology, Hyderabad. The book, Engineered is in India, is an amalgamation of innovation, differentiation, entrepreneurial spirit, and the foresight that goes into building people and enterprises. The book addresses the intangible and subtle dimensions of being an entrepreneur, the need for a higher vision coupled with operational acumen, grit, and persistence, the ability to take risk and connect the dots, communicate and network, empathy, flexibility, and lifelong learning. So, in short, Engineered in India allows the readers to understand what to expect from an entrepreneurial journey and see human truth and the tool they can use to make sense of their experiments. The book provides ample insights and points to think for youth who are interested in imposing entrepreneurship and those who have embarked in the journey of entrepreneurship. Now, I would request Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, sir, to kindly take the seats on the stage.
Thank you.
So let me take this opportunity to introduce Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, our beloved Board of Governor and the author of the book Engineered in India. He is a personality who has experienced a wide spectrum and has seen different facets of turning from an entrepreneur to an ace businessman and philanthropist. Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy is a visionary who firmly placed India on the global engineering, research, and development services map by establishing Cyient, formerly known as Infotech Enterprises, in the year 1991. He went on to create the Engineered in India brand and led Cyient to introduce about $6.5 billion in cumulative export from India to several global clients, including many Fortune 100 companies. Dr. Reddy served as a chairman of NASSCOM during the year 2015 and 2016. He served as a chairman of CII Southern Region in the year 2008 and 2009, and currently the chairman of CII Education Council. Dr. Reddy is also the founding director of T-Hub, the largest startup incubation center in the country. Dr. Reddy took up several leadership positions to promote higher education in the country. He is currently the chairman of the Board of Governors of IIT Hyderabad and IIT Roorkee, and also a membership of the Leadership Advisory Board at the University of Michigan College of Engineering, USA, and also a member of the Court of Governors of Administrative Staff College of India. Dr. Reddy also received India's highest fourth civilian award, the Padma Shri, in the year 2017 for his contribution in the trade and industry. He is also the recipient of the Distinguished Leadership Award of the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. He was conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award from Outlook Business, Hyderabad Management Association, Hyderabad Software Enterprise Association, and the Center for Organization Development, recognizing his industry leadership, corporate excellence, and institution building. He is also the recipient of Distinguished Alumni Award from IIT Kanpur and is a fellow of the Institution of Engineers, India. Dr. Reddy also holds a postgraduate degree from IIT Kanpur and University of Michigan, USA. He is also the recipient of honorary doctorate from JNTU Hyderabad, JNTU Kakinada, Andhra University, Kale University, Yogi Vimana University, and Veltech University. So today we are extremely elated to have you, sir, here for your book launch event today. Now I'd request sir to kindly address the gathering about his book.
Thank you, Jayashree, for that generous introduction of mine. I've spent almost 45 plus years in the corporate world. So understandably, I have created a resume which is fairly long. So thank you very much for being very patient and sharing that with people. I like this conversation to be very interactive between you and me. But before we do that, let me do a context setting for our conversation. The first and the foremost is that what is this book about? This book is more a business biography of last 30 years of mine in building a company which is Cyient. It talks about how I started the company and built it over the last 30 years. And to make the style very interesting for people to read, there's a fairly large amount of anecdotal information relating to my personal life itself. People said, Mohan, you did too much of disclosure. And some people said you had to be very brave to have done that. You had courage to do it. But the sum total of it is I did. I did disclose what I thought was relevant. Mike is on and off from time to time. Yeah. Yes. Let's try this one. So there are personal anecdotal information that's been spread around, but it is not, please don't mistake, that it is please don't mistake that it's a biography of mine. It is certainly is a business biography of the company. So what we did was, in writing the book, there are about 9 chapters, the first 9 chapters, dealt sequentially on the startup, then you go into a growth mode, you then scale your company, and you go to a number of processes that have to be run and make sure your company becomes a sustainable company. Thereafter, in the second part, we made it more thematic as what were the various issues that are involved in building a company, like how important is quality and what did we do to build the quality to where it is, or customer centricity, or strategy, or people function, or how do we manage crisis. Crisis management is a chapter by itself. And finally, it ends up in talking about sustainability of a company, because companies can become, companies in my perspective, live forever. They are immortal, whereas founders or people who start companies are not immortal. So the result is that they will have to make sure that there is continuity in terms of leadership. And we build that part of it too. And the other thing which is important is building the right levels of governance and transparency in organizations. So the book goes into 2 parts. First is more in terms of how the company was built. The second one was the thematic chapters. There's 9 plus 9, approximately about 18 chapters. And people ask me this question, why did I do this? I did this primarily because I wanted to share this story with several youth of India to inspire them to build companies which will also be lasting forever. That was the key reason why I finally wrote the story. As you read the book, you'll find it very interesting. I come from a middle class background. My father was a police officer. My mother was a homemaker. There were 4 siblings. In the 1960s, the dream for any parent, and I think even true to a very great extent even now, is education was the key gift that the parents could give us. Sure, it's true with you too, Jayashree. And it was further down, the people also felt that education was also limited to the extent of being either an engineer or a doctor. So the 2 professions, which primarily the reason they were not behind it is that they were giving fairly large amount of security to people. There were jobs available in those 2 areas. It gave security to the children because after the knowledge was coming in. So I went through that particular process. And one thing that I'd like to highlight in the process too is somewhere down the line, you'll read this too. In class 7, that my marks were so poor, my mother felt that I would not probably pass class 7. And she threatened me, saying that, if I didn't pass class 7, she will send me home, send me to the village, where my grandfather was a farmer. She said something more interesting after that. I have a sister who's a year elder to me, who became a medical doctor. She said, when she can come first in class, why not you? A girl coming first in class. That's what she said. So that certainly was, I mean, a very turning point in my life. It's the aha moment or the pivot in my life. I started thinking about why is that I don't come first in class. Seriously, this is bugging me like crazy. My mother says this, that. So then I started saying, no, you can also come in first in class by doing many things. And it didn't happen overnight or progressively happen. And one of the things I learned in that particular process is that I always work towards excellence. Trust me, even if you give me a wrinkled shirt and say, Mohan, do you want to wear this? I'll say no. I'll go iron it myself and make sure that I wear a clean shirt. So that's what it's a very mundane example, all right. But it could be in everything saying that you have to be the best. I never say I have to be better than others. I want to be the best myself. In the process, I'm better than others, it's their problem. They also want to be better than me too. So the end result is that from being a seventh class, if and no type of student I was a gold medalist in engineering. I further went on to get more education for myself. And then build this company with a simple thing called belief in me and an attitude which says I can and I will. And that I thought every one of you can do it. That's not something unique with me. It's not something that you should go into the classroom, go to a medical doctor, get a medication done for you to use it for a couple of years before you change. No. Something very simple in your mind, which says, I can, I will. That's the attitude with which I built this company. So therefore, why did I write this book? So that we said, look, the succession that is there. So when I started this company, there's another interesting stuff that I turned 40. It's very rare for people to become entrepreneurs when you become 40 years old. And especially, I also had a fairly nice job before that. I was the CEO of a computer system integration company, which was in the top 10 till I left. I left them in 1992. That too not for 1 year, 2 years. For 10 continuous years, I was the CEO. And actually, in the good old days of 1980s, the title of a managing director was considered to be very sacrosanct. It was never given to people who work for the company. So largely to promoters, families, founders, they were all managing directors of the company. But they gave me one title very quickly. And this was a company which was actually, the founder was a gentleman called Dr. Reddy. Morning, I think Shrikant talked about Turing Award winner. Raj is also a Turing Award winner. And I believe he's one of the few Indians who got the Turing Award. And the other founder for the company that I was running was Tata's. A combination of Tata's and then reputed international scientists giving me a title of managing director was a reflection of how they felt about me. So I ran that company for 10 years. So therefore, it was much more difficult to say, I check out the role of a CEO, a company car, a company house, fairly nice fat salary. But still, the moment came in my life saying that, I have to do something which is going to be distinctly different from others. As much as I talk about excellence, the other thing that I think if there's one myth, this is one myth that got created at the fag end, but I'll share this with you, is that the interesting poem called The Dash from a very famous author called Linda Ellis, if some of you have read the poem, it's all about people disappear from the world. When they disappear from the world, there's nothing but a tombstone. And on the tombstone, you see a name of a person, the date they appear, there's a dash, and then the date disappear. If you look at the whole frame, there's nothing under the individual's control. Name is not under control. The date of birth is not under control. The date you disappear is not under control. What is your contribution is the dash part of it. How well have you done? So this used to be coming back to me several times, as much as said, why don't I come first in class? What do you want to be known for? What's your purpose of life? So that is purpose of life, was to say there are a number of ways in which you can contribute back. You can become an entrepreneur, you can become a good medical doctor, you can be an outstanding teacher like Professor V.S. Murthy, and several others here. Several other good people are, I can see in front of me. Or you can be a politician too. Good politicians contribute to the society. You can be an NGO. You can choose your thing, but whatever you choose, you have to contribute. So therefore, that was the one which was lurking in my mind. What do I do to contribute? Honestly, several times that I got overtures to become a politician. It never interested me. I thought I'll become an entrepreneur, create jobs, and contribute. And so therefore, we created this company. We became an entrepreneur. We grew the company to where it is at this point of time. And by the time I turned 60, I started getting nervous, saying that, look, there's not too much of room left for me. I need to find a successor, which I rightfully so found a successor. By 2014, we announced a successor and he took over the company from me. In the interest of transparency, I should say he's my son, but he was competent enough to run the business. He's been running the business for the last 8 years now. 2014 to now, he's been the managing director of the company. But leaving that part of it, but what I decided was, we said Krishna, who was the CEO of the company, required some amount of mentoring. One was I could be the mentor, that was one. The second is the current chairman of the board, a gentleman called M.M. Murugappan. He comes from the Murugappa family from Chennai. They're probably about $10 billion in terms of revenue this year. Very reputed company for their integrity, for their governance, for the board management especially. He is on the board. He knew Krishna well, so we said he could be the mentor. But the final consensus between us was no, none of us who know Krishna so well, we should have as a mentor. But ask Krishna to go and find a mentor for himself. Krishna went and found a mentor called Ravi Bhuthalingam. Ravi was the chairman of Aziz Sultan, and then he became chairman of Oberoi Group, very accomplished, and then he became a professional mentor. So here's the interesting thing that happened that Ravi came back to me somewhere around 2014 and said, Mohan, what are you doing? I said, look, I gave up the company. I'm very happily enjoying my life. He said, boss, this will not work. Unless you have seen the predecessors, unless they have something else to do, you'll say, I have nothing to do. You'll go back to the office and make misery for this young man. So he said, make a promise to me that you will do something else other than your company. And that's when we started looking at what am I trying to spend my time on? What are the small things that were happening around us? Or big things happening around us? By which time, strangely, the IIT story cuts in. I became the chairman of IIT Hyderabad. This was in 2012. 11 years, 2011. Yeah, 2011 it was. So therefore, I said my passion in life is more of education. I want to contribute to education and started trying to build another new career of myself to become, get into it more of education. But education led to innovation, innovation to entrepreneurship. I started investing in a number of startups. Even today have about 20 companies in which I'm invested. Some are doing extremely well. Some are not doing well at all. I've actually wrote off 6 companies, the money I invested in them. That's a very natural process. It doesn't surprise us at all. Because every company, if it succeeds, then what's the purpose, what's the challenge that's left behind? So when this part was happening, then I said, we were meeting a lot of startups, sharing our experiences. But we felt at some point of time, there is probably a need for writing a book rather than just trying to share these experiences. That's the synopsis of why the book was written. And finally, I'll make one more comment. It's about why did I name it as Engineer in India? In some ways, all of us are engineered in India. No cliche intended, all right. But the fact of life is engineering is very dear to my heart. And I built this company by providing engineering as a service to customers all around the world. It was one customer, multiple industries, multiple customers, multiple geographies. That's how it went on. And to the extent that it has now become so institutionalized, there are at least a couple of hundred players who play in this engineering services market who are Indian origin. More interestingly, there are at least another 200 to 300 multinationals who come and set up shops in India to do engineering in India. So therefore, we thought, we had the first mover advantage. So that was very dear to us, and that's how I named the book as Engineering in India. I'll stop with these three comments, and I'll have Jayashree and all of you to have ask me questions.
Okay, I think.
You can take this one.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir, for your words of wisdom and sharing us with your entrepreneurial journey. I am curious and have some kind of questions. If with your permission, I could do that. So as a young faculty, so when we are taking classes in entrepreneurship, so we find three Yes. Am I audible right now? Yeah. Thank you, sir. So as a young faculty, so I see three different kinds of people in my class, right? So first kind of people are the ones who don't even have heard of entrepreneurship before, never heard of. But these are the people with the sparkling eyes in the class with a lot of ideas, but they don't know that how do they get started. The second category of people are the students who have some kind of idea, but they're in the dilemma of that whether I should go for this high package company, should I wait for some more years, or should I get my startup after 6 or 7 years down the line. And then there is a last category of people who maybe because of their family background or support, they already know that they are going to join the family business. But my inclination is for the people those who form the majority or the chunk of the people, maybe from the tier 3 or the tier 4 category or tier 4 towns. How do we motivate these people? Because I believe, as we know that 60% of India still lives in the rural, right? And we have a lot of problems there. So how do we bring those students to the forefront and work on their dreams and channelize, so that we can solve a lot of solution? Because even with the advent of technology, be it AI, be it ML, or be it any kind of thing, so how do we make them empowered that yes, your dream and your aspirations will not go in vain? How do we make sure that?
Thank you, Jayashree. A good question that you asked. Thank you, Jayashree. It's a good question that you asked. Can you now hear me? Perfect. Thank you. It's a good question, Jayashree. So how do we motivate people from the rural India to become entrepreneurs is largely what you're saying. I'll step back and look at what happened in this country in the last 75 years of independence. You look at what type of entrepreneurship came to this country over a period of time. When we were children, there were only two large groups in this country. So what was industry to be done by? Either it had to be a Tata company or it had to be a Birla company. Tatas and Birlas were the only thing. An exception without any denying was the Ambani who came in and who created enormous amount of momentum there. Otherwise, you look at the so-called entrepreneurship businesses that they were creating. It more in terms of probably a guy who had a lot of land, sold the land and became a contractor. That's the entrepreneurial spirit that he had. It's only two things that the first thing that happened is in 1991, that's when we started, or I started the company, you had enormous amount of shift in the governmental thinking that the country has to become more open. So therefore, they got into this policies of liberalization. And also they said we need to be part of the global system. That's what the whole idea was. And that gave actually room for technology industry. That's when you started seeing techno entrepreneurship coming in. Give few years plus or minus, it was Infosys. In some ways, it probably could say TCS or a number of other companies. But as time started moving forward, and these were actually focused towards services as such. And these were also not entrepreneurs who were 20 years or 22 years who were there. These were people who had lots of experience, including HCL. I should have mentioned that name earlier. And then came the second wave somewhere down the line, Srikanth fits into that particular group, where technology really started taking the forefront. Where, in our generation, 1990s, technology was still not in the forefront. I think you gave an example of what AI was then and what AI is now. And what is the reason for it? Also, he explained at length. So therefore, technology-led entrepreneurship became much more stronger in the last, say, 15 to 15 years, deep technology and so on. So what is happening as a result of that is now you have icons of the industry. A Narayan Murthy, you go to rural India and ask somebody saying that there's a gentleman called Narayan Murthy, they'll recognize the name, right? So the way in which we can motivate people is to tell these stories over and over again. Mine might be a very simple story, but still several people tell me it's an appealing story. What is it like? I started this company with a money of 20 lakhs of rupees. This is 1991. That was the savings that I had. Two other friends of mine gave me $10,000 each. And dollar at that point in time was 25 rupees a dollar. So that's 2.5 lakhs that they had. 2.5 lakhs was 25 lakhs of money. And the same money, which was the seed for us, where did it grow to be? Give or take a few hundred crores. We're about 10,000 crores of valuation today. That money grew to what it is. So as an entrepreneur, you created wealth. And wealth is nothing bad about it. Money is not a bad word at all to me. And what did we do? Actually, this wealth, did we amass or were we going to take it upstairs? We also made sure that we created several other wealth stuff. We distributed the wealth to others too. In a public company, we now have 100,000 shareholders in the company. So they also made money out of us. So we created wealth, we shared wealth people, not only with people who are investors, but also our own employees. There are several crorepattis in the company at this point of time for a fresh engineer to come by. So therefore, look at the satisfaction I have from the other perspective. I created today the payroll is 18,000 people, 18,000 jobs we created. We earned $6.5 billion of foreign exchange. Some of you, the younger people, may not be aware. India was in exactly the same situation as what Sri Lanka is today in terms of foreign exchange. We were unable to pay our foreign debt. The then government, P.V. Narasimha Rao as the Prime Minister and Manmohan Singh as Finance Minister, sheepishly was smuggling gold out of this country to pay the loans that we owed to Bank of London. From that situation, where are we today? We have $550 billion of surplus foreign exchange we have in the country. Who created that? Entrepreneurs created that. Industry definitely helped us create it, but the entrepreneurs created that. So therefore, these stories that go out will motivate people. It won't happen overnight. And there is also a social safety net that has to come by Jayashree. Because people still think if my son is graduating, he has to get that big package. Actually, big package is of recent origin. The bigger package for them, in their perspective, was to get a government job. The preference is get the government job, then the bigger package, because the bigger package comes, but there are also risks associated. I think slowly the society is also transforming. It's a combination of that will change the world.
Thank you, sir. So one follow-up question. The year that you started Cyient was in 1991, and today we are in 2023. A lot of time has passed, a lot of landscape has changed. So today is a generation of Gen Z people. So the people, the students we have in IIT mostly belong to the Gen Z category. So what will be your advice for them?
What will be the advice for them is that today entrepreneurship is extremely important in our lives. I think our director, Professor Murthy, has been saying that he's going to measure you people by saying how many jobs will you create is what the measure that he wants to do. Why would I consider this so important? Is that entrepreneurship creates jobs. That's absolutely hesitant statement of mine. I think I mentioned it to you in the earlier meeting too, that 60% of net new jobs created in any year, in any part of the world, are created by new companies, which is startups or small companies or medium companies. Large companies create only 40% of the jobs. So therefore, in a country like India, if you look at it, we put right now 1 million people for jobs every month. We put 10 million people for jobs every year. And given the demographic dividend we have, we'll do this for at least 10 years, if not longer. So the end result is we will put about 100 million people for jobs in the next 10 years. We need to create those many jobs. So entrepreneurship becomes very, very important. So therefore, my message is, you want to do something for this nation, become an entrepreneur. And several people think, if you go back and Google around to this word called what is entrepreneurship, very simple, three things that I always keep talking about. One is you have a business idea, you take risks associated with the business idea, and make economic benefit out of it. Those are three things that they talk about. But certainly, yes, you do that. But to me, it's much beyond that. A lot more that you do as an entrepreneur. You participate in the nation building. You are today creating jobs. You're earning foreign exchange. And equally important, I keep talking about, is that you participate in social upliftment. Companies now have CSR money of 2%. That's going a long way in terms of creating much, much stronger society. So a sum total of these three things, nation building, wealth creation, and your own satisfaction of what you leave behind, makes me feel my strong message is become an entrepreneur. Try it out. If you don't succeed, there's always a chance that you won't succeed. I wouldn't say that everybody will be successful entrepreneurs. There's nothing wrong. You can always go back and do a job thereafter. You get one of the things that we've also found is failed entrepreneurs are excellent people for being leaders in the company. And the reason for that is that they have such rich experience behind them. So there's nothing lost in becoming an entrepreneur. So my strong recommendation is become an entrepreneur. Maybe Jayashree, you're also going to try to become an entrepreneur.
Let's say, so apart from the three criteria that you mentioned, so one of, along with the nation building, you also need to look into the value that we are creating into the lives of the people, how we are making them empowered, how we are making them self-reliant. So that's another, point I want to add.
Sure.
So one last question from my end is that in the year 1991, in the year 2023. So now you mentioned that you are mentoring a 20 startup, right? So just previously you mentioned. So what attitude do you see in them, and how different are they from you back then?
So people are different. They could be different from me, all right. I'm a very strange animal, is what I keep describing myself to be. So not necessarily everybody needs to be like me. And I don't like anybody to be copying somebody else. That's another thing that I always keep saying. It's just not with me. What I like people to do is look at the good characteristics of people, what you like to learn, imbibe them. But don't lose your identity. Your identity should still be there. But the value system that you see as the ones which will helpful to you, you start making them. So we see, especially when we see a large group of entrepreneurs, we see different types of profiles. And so we try to emphasize to them, saying that if you want to be an entrepreneur, the first and foremost, please, that has to come from your heart. You have to have the passion. Several people come and ask me this question, Mr. Reddy, I want to become an entrepreneur. Give me an idea. And I keep telling them, that's the sure shot way of a failure. You should never, nobody will give you an idea. You have to get that idea. Go and do that hard work. There's an entrepreneur who does this entrepreneurial experiment, and that is, he will take 60 people who want to become entrepreneurs. They don't have any idea what it is. He takes them in a bus for 30 days. It's somewhere around Delhi it is. And he takes 30 days, you stop in 30 locations around rural India. You should get ideas at that point of time. If you get an idea and say, I'm incorporating a company, you write off a check for saying that 1% of my company belongs to you. Otherwise, you pay him 50,000 rupees for the trip. It's again an entrepreneurial story. So therefore, we find one set of people coming and asking us, we want to become entrepreneurs. That won't work. You want to be an entrepreneur yourself, and you search for ideas. And I think Shrikant articulated it so well when he spoke today, is that you should look for the real problem. And use cases, he said. He talked about TB, how the detection of AI algorithms was being done. So don't imagine yourself, there's a problem there and I'm going to solve the whole world. No, there could be a few exceptions somewhere here and there. But don't go to that. There should be a real problem that you face to say that, look, I'm going to solve this problem. So look for real problems, look for local problems, look for social problems. That's what you should be. So therefore, what we are seeing is entrepreneurs come to us saying that I don't have a good idea of it. And then you get an idea, please be persistent with it. Several people say, I've got, what are you doing? This is the idea I have, I'm running this company. Oh, very good. So, when do you think no, sir, I've got another 3 more companies I'm running. That other secret sauce for me to say failure. Just take one company, one idea, pursue it. You prove it. Then somebody challenged me the other day. Look at Tata, said, look at Birla's, how many companies they run. I said, boss, you're not still Tata or Birla. Don't get into that illusion now. So therefore, we find people, we're not persistent with their ideas. And the third one is they don't have a complete wherewithal of saying, I have all the knowledge, because the Gen Z is starting very early. People like me started when we were 40. I'd seen enough of life. I had about 18 years of rich experience in the corporate world. Whereas if you're starting young, you don't have all that experience. So what you need to do is you form a team which is supplementing each other. If you're a technologist, you need to get a business guy. You need to get a marketing guy. You need to get a finance guy. Not necessarily, I'm saying 10 people. Even those 2 or 3 people, those skills which supplement each other, that's what we keep saying, the team's part. I'll say last one. And the last one is, please do not compromise on values. We found a company which was doing extremely well in EdTech marketplace. We mentored them. We did not even think about investing to start with. And then, in the conversation, I said, what's your balance sheet like? He gave me some numbers, and I have this bad habit of scribbling all the numbers. Whenever I speak to somebody, I have to have a paper and a pen. Without that, my life does not go on. And I keep noting them down. And then when his papers came by, the numbers were different. So I said, why are these numbers different? He said, sir, I'm a startup, so I don't want to pay taxes. So if you don't want to pay taxes at the very initial stages, you have a problem. Your value systems are in very serious trouble. Or for that matter, we keep saying that people don't even make their balance sheet and P&L and say, no, sir, I know the numbers. You know the number, but it will help you only to probably, if you can get those numbers on a piece of paper, to decide on what should be done next. So these are some of the things that we find as challenging, Jayshree.
Right, sir. Very rightly pointed. The problem with the Gen Z that I have felt that even though they need to practice persistent, but they are very quick in jumping into conclusions saying that I'm a failure. That's one of the biggest threat that I feel that Gen Z should try to work on them.
Be patient. Don't say.
Right. Thank you, sir, for the fun introduction. Now, I'd open the floor for the question from the audience. So, to lead for the discussion, yes, question from the audience.
Yeah.
Yes, a lady has raised her hand.
Good afternoon, sir. So, over the last year that I've joined IT Hyderabad, I had a couple of rather privileged listen to you. The first one being when you discussed regarding how to be a researcher, and you were discussing about how we actually come with our picture puzzles and just try to fit in all of them and what are the basic steps. So that was the first point when I listened to you and it started like how important it is for us being a researcher also to think about the real world problems and the smallest of parts like the blueprint and how to go back to them and everything. And the second time when we were interacting on the World Entrepreneurs Day. So that's from when I have the question yet, which was yet unanswered. So the time we spoke about how important it is to imbibe the value system of having people in our value system of an organization and what's the importance of them. So that was one of the key takeaways that would take even if you want to be an entrepreneur or already deep organization in place. Apart from that, sir, you also discussed about that how importance of having board of governance and whom you choose to be your chairman or board of governance. So what I would like to ask you about is, can you dwell deeper on what exactly we should think about? Like rightly, you also spoke about Mr. Ravi, that how he was chosen by your predecessor for the organization as a mentor. Whereas Sir Guru Kapil was there, but still chose him to be his mentor. So how important or how should we look forward for the exact or a better board of governors or the chairman or CEO that we want them to help us, and how exactly it's going to help the business?
See, to make the question short, I thought your question is more amount of how do we create a board of governors and how do we manage the board? Is that the right question you're asking?
Yes, sir.
See, several people think that board of governors are just for fulfilling the requirement of the regulator. Because if you are a you're a publicly limited company today, you need to have 6 directors. You're a private limited company, I think you have fewer number of directors. They think they know that's just fulfilling the requirements. To me, if that's the attitude that people have, then they don't need to have the board at all, is what I believe. A board can help considerably in terms of creating value for the organization. In several areas that we find that we require more amount of counsel and more amount of wisdom. So therefore, you constitute boards in such a way that every one of them can contribute in their area of specialization. We got a board at this point of time. Mr. Murugappan is the chairman of the board right now. He is the best person that I know of in terms of corporate governance. Governance is his absolute fortification. I've talked about scribbling on a piece of paper. He's got one more better habit. I'm trying to copy him or learn this from him. He has a black book for every company that he serves on the board. And that black book is constantly carried when he comes to a board meeting. So he has all the notes what happened in the last board meeting before he starts this meeting at all. So that's governance to me. And compliance is something which is extremely important. Or a second gentleman, we have a gentleman called Vivek Gaur, who was a CFO for Genpact, a Nasdaq listed company. Very stickler for Nasdaq listed companies. CFO is a very, very tough job. So he knows all about audit, all about finances, all about compliance in terms of CFO role. So he brings more value to us. Or we have a guy called Vikas Saigal, who is on the managing director of Rothschild Bank in London. And Vikas brings in more amount of strategy perspective to us. We have a woman on a board called Matangi Gauri Shankar. She was worldwide human resource head for HP. So you look at the profile of people, all can contribute, but just don't have the names there, but give them enough room also to certainly contribute. The bottom line to me is, if the company prospers, I am the largest beneficiary out of it. I'm very selfish in saying, but that is the attitude that I have. I still am the largest share. So therefore, if somebody wants to come and contribute, please allow them to contribute if there's going to be making the company better. If that's the attitude an entrepreneur has, a startup has, I'm sure there's going to be lots amount of luck for them in future.
Thank you very much, sir. So, as you rightly said, so entrepreneurs will start. So initially they want to share ideas, and secondly they don't want other people to join as they're starting. So that dilemma is always there, whether I should hire a person if you still have enough resources to even hire some. It's a little difficult for a young mind to actually think about at that point of time. So over the period of time, probably we believe that maybe I should have taken the chance, but at some point, the dilemma still stays.
But people who have succeeded are the people who took the chance early in life. So therefore, we should now promote that idea, saying that let's take the chance. Nothing would happen. The idea too that I keep saying cannot be lost, because you need to get a new idea next morning. The same thing. You refine your ideas. At one point of time, there's this very famous man who's no more. I respect him enormously. A gentleman called Mr. F.C. Kohli. He was the chairman of Fakir Chand Kohli, chairman of CPS. So he used to allow every visitor to come to his office and look around what's happening at TCS. And I asked him one day, Mr. Kohli, don't you feel nervous about this? I used to know him very well. He was a Tata Sons director, so I used to report to Tata Sons at one point of time in my previous job. And he said, no, Mohan, because next time this guy comes to my office, there should be something new for him to learn. So that you're building pressure on yourself. So therefore, please make sure that you will probably get benefited by opening up rather than closing yourself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's take the next question. Yes.
Two questions.
Sure, sir, please.
You build a large organization like this, you need a constant supply of leaders. That is a challenge in a country like India, growing a pipeline of leaders. Second is personal. Do you think you were too late to start at 40?
So therefore, leadership is something which is important. We built a pipeline of leaders. We continuously made an effort to make sure that leadership was built within the company. I also am a strong believer in terms of building leadership internally as opposed to externally bringing in. I believe our track record says 60% of leadership. Thank you, Shrikant. Take care. Thank you very much. Sorry. So we built an internal pipeline of leadership. We now have actually, as you grow, you spend more amount of time, effort, and focus. We have a tie-up with Wharton School of Business. Every year, 30 of our leaders go and spend a month in Wharton. And I think because of the COVID, this come to a standstill, but I think we're going back again into it. So you have to put that effort of building the leadership. And there are several leadership teams because this is not 30 I talked about is the top leadership. There's a program called First Time Leaders. There's something called the Business Leaders Program, BLP, SLP, FLP, so many abbreviations go by. So leadership is a part and parcel of developing them. And more importantly, giving them opportunity to lead and mentor them. That's the way in which the leadership can be built. 40 years is too late? No, to me, age is just a number. To me,
Given the experience that you could have started earlier with a different.
If you ask me, if you give me a chance today, I would have started earlier. But in the regime that we were in the 1990s, it wasn't too late because you still had to get the experience is one aspect of it. The second one was the environment was also extremely hostile. If you introduce yourself as a businessman in the corridors of power and the concrete jungles of New Delhi, people used to think that you are a cheat and a thug. Nothing short of that. Unhesitantly, I'll say that. And there was so much amount of control that was there. There's this interesting story I write in the book also, is that there used to be, everything used to be controlled. There used to be a department called DGTD, Director General of Technology Development. Neither it was doing technology nor development. There's one thing was true, that Director General was there. For everything that you have to get approval, you have to go to Delhi. And outside this gentleman's, very nice man he was, but outside his room there used to be two chairs. One chair used to have 4 legs in it. The other chair had only 3 legs for it. So the 4th leg chair used to be reserved for the peon of the house, the peon of the office. So you are the visitor. Now you have the first challenge is that you have to sit on a 3-legged chair, which means that you push yourself to the wall and balance yourself very tightly, sit down till the big babu calls you. And more interestingly, I don't know how many of you know, there's something called BD, local parlance in Karimnagar it's made. It's basically a smoke. It is a cheap, it's poor man's cigarette. It's tendu leaf, which is rolled up, and this smoke, BD, right, BD. And what is it? I keep saying that you all the time read cigarette smoking is injurious to health. To me, it's injurious to health in long term, not immediately. Whereas if you do passive inhaling of BD, it's injurious immediately because you'll throw up. That's what will happen to your life. So they used to sit outside the office, inhaling the BD smoke of the pure in a 3-legged chair seat. That used to be the environment then. So therefore, if in those days, I think the timing was right. I waited for the right time for a first generation entrepreneur to get in. But if you give me a chance now, I'll start much earlier.
Have things changed now?
Things have changed dramatically, unhesitantly true. I run a number of associations in the last 10, 15 years. We've seen that, especially even when I started, 1992, 95, around that time, I used to run HICIA. Unwritten law was any document we sent to the government officer who was the STPI director, it should be returned back within 48 hours. Without which we didn't return it back, we say that it's approved. That's how the law was. And it worked very well. So the environment has changed. You look at money itself, funding. I got funded by something called the IDBI Venture Capital Fund, VCF. There were only two funds at that point of time. One was IDBI Venture Capital Fund. The other was ICICI's TDB, it's called Technology Development Fund, TDF. There were only two funds. So I came back fairly thrilled. I had my 25 lakhs. I liberated it 4 times over. My project cost was 1.22 crores. I came back saying that this is the terms finally I got from these guys. And people looked at it and said, oh, Mohan, this is not venture capital money. This is vulture capital money. That is the terms I got. So this money of 97 lakhs I borrowed from them was considered to be venture debt, having 21% interest. I was paying 6% royalty as the floor. There was no ceiling associated with it. And within 4 years, if I did not pay for the loan, they would convert whatever remaining part of it into equity. So today, environment has changed. There's so much of money. If you have a good idea, actually money is running after you. It's not you run after money. So I think the environment is so different at this point of time. It's very conducive for an entrepreneur to take off. Added to that, of course, technology has also helped dramatically.
Reddy, you spoke of some people on the board of your company and you highlighted their strengths. Can you name 1 or 2 founders where you've invested and something that you have learned from them or you would admire and kind of share them?
Good question. Admire them and learn from them. I'm trying to
Yeah, given an idea for the next book.
let me think about it. I'm sure there are instances, but I'm trying to say I need to rephrase myself with what. Well, there's a company that I work with right now called Cyient, and it's a technology company. It's very interesting. They're creating a new market space for themselves in what is now called in-session marketing. So you sit on an e-commerce site, and then what happens is by the 4th click of the button, the machine takes control of you. The machine knows exactly whether you're a window shopper, you're a serious shopper. Then it entices you to make sure that you burn and you buy. And we've seen uplift happening. So what do I learn from them is if you make the company is progressing very well. Actually, Norwest Partners, Pramod Haq and I sit on that board. It's a San Jose-based company, and they're scaling very well. That technology, if you deploy more, and it's a very small company, I think Srikanth also gave 23 people company type of thing. This is about 40 people company. So you don't need to, I threw a lot of bodies at solving problems. Now what I realize, the learning that I have is nobody should not have thrown, if I've thrown technology, I'd have probably scaled much faster too. Yes, sir.
Hi, sir. I'm Gopishan. So, as you said, now things are developed very much, and it's right time for Gen Z kids to launch their venture. So, what are the 3 most important checklists that a founder who is in funding of his college needs to ensure for a right, what we say, right track of to make sure his venture is on path, on a right path?
First and the foremost is that you need to identify a real problem that exists. That's the first. And then second thing is that you have to have a unique solution to it. You might say, Mr. Reddy, I'll give you an example. Food delivery is a problem that exists here, right? But how do you deliver? Yeah, I'll hire these people. I got the software, small piece of software which can be copied, etc. But the problem is everybody else can do that. It's not very unique at all. Zomato, the moment they find you, they'll say, I'll also service this particular area, you're done. So therefore, look at a problem which is real. And then the second one is, it has to be a unique solution, which I use the word called distinctively different from others. Third one is, it has to be, I can't be starting a company which is just serving my street, not my town, not my state, not my country. I like to see a problem which is universal. So therefore, which is in technology jargon, it's called TAM, total addressable market. TAM has to be large. I can go on with them, but we wanted three. I'll give you these three: real problem, distinctively different solution, and large TAM.
So, distinctively solution in the sense is it should be very much rooted in terms of technology or advanced technology or in terms of
See, we talked about today's Innovation Day. We talked about innovation in a big way. Innovation-led, technology-led innovation is one way of looking at it. We've also seen fairly large number of innovations which a business process changes itself. We can still achieve the same results. So therefore, I wouldn't say that your solution distinctly different in terms of technology, because technology will also change. For now, it has to be unique. It can't be copied by others. I don't invest in a company if I heard the story already once. I invest only when I'm hearing the story for the first time. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind.
So, one last follow-up question, sir. So you said in terms of it should be business-wise very much unique, but students from engineering background or who has very much poor in economics, or so how can we, because a lot of questions.
I answered that question earlier. Recall, we said we should have teams. You will be the engineer. You're a very competent engineering person, you are, but you don't understand the business so well. So get a business partner. Go to ISB. Find a guy who probably can go to some of these events. You'll find not necessarily even ISB. Because if you look at the financial services market in India right now, or the banking industry, my back the envelope calculation is 50% of them on the top jobs are all IIT graduates. Did IIT teach them finance? No. The IIT taught them all about analytical abilities, logical thinking, sharp minds, and they use that in finances. That's what they did. So therefore, don't worry about what you don't have. You can always learn them or supplement them. It's very easy to do it. But you should understand what you don't have is something very important.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Actually, I thought of attending the book launch in 3rd December at IIIT. So unfortunately, I missed it. But yeah, I got the opportunity to attend this.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
I'm glad.
Sir, please last question.
But it has to be a short question because we are holding up people from lunch. No, లేదు తెలుగు మీరు క్వశ్చన్ అడగాలి క్వశ్చన్ అడగాలి.
So in my inspiration journey, I have to say thank to 4-5 members. One is you, second is Richard Butler, and third one is me. Only because of this number of questions comes regularly, sir. But to get the answers, I have gone through so many of videos, motivation speeches, mails, this kind of events, because there is no startup is similar to others. So no questions are also not safe. To come out of these questions, every time this kind of interactions help me to select as a Niti Praya scheme under the central government for 1.5 million funds, sir. For that reason, I want to say thanks on behalf of all.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Change it for the encourage to say it.
That's an interesting question.
I wanted to ask you, long back itself, your first meeting.
So, it is. I'll be very briefly, I'll give you a 1-minute answer to it. When I started this company, I said, look, my company's name should represent what I do. I was in information technology industry, so it was infotech what it is. So people said, no, Mohan, look at something which is more exotic, very different, etc., etc. I said, no, boss, what is in the name for me? That's what I used to say the question. I do good work, people will recognize me. That held good because in several ways, people call that company BVR Mohan Reddy's company, it's BVR Infotech is what people used to call it, etc. But as we grew over a period of time, what happened is that we wanted to have a unique name for ourselves, the brand equity as it's called. And people were getting very confused because so many companies have sprung up and so on and so forth. So my successor, Krishna, was a very strong proponent saying that, look, we need to have a unique brand for the company, unique name has to come by. We pushed him back. I had this conversation once with him, and that evening I met with a very senior IAS officer who was secretary to the government without naming who it was. He said, Mohan Reddy, how is business, etc. I was telling him everything was good. So he said, yeah, Mohan Reddy, I know this. So long as you're there, Infosys will do well, he said. So therefore, he couldn't even make the distinction between Infotech and Infosys. So then a very strange thing happened. Next morning, I wake up and open the newspapers. So, and the newspaper had an item saying that, the directors of PSR, I think, PSR Infotech arrested. And thereafter, I got 2 phone calls saying that, Mohan Reddy, what went wrong to get arrested? And that was absolutely jarring on me. I said, I gave the only regret we had was it cost us a lot of money. I said, okay, let's look at the name. So then I'll tell you why Cyient came into play. Henry Sells, one of the largest branding company in the world, they're based out of London, were given this assignment. To give you a flavor, it's a £1 million assignment it was for them. But they sent me only 3 minutes they spent. So they said, Mr. Reddy, we went and met with a lot of your customers, lots of your employees, lots of stakeholders, the whole thing. First thing that comes out is that they say, you're very passionate about customers. You all the time work for customer delight. And it's a fact of life. In the book also I write, 97% of our customers never left us once they came to us. That's the repeatability we could do. So, thank you. So therefore, they said, pass this word called customer client. So they came with this way called client. Client is very important for you. Then they said, the second thing that we hear is a very unique thing. You're not an IT company. They all say you're engineering, you're R&D, you're a very scientific company. Sciences are what it is. They said, pass this word called client and science. And then they said, the third one, which is the most interesting one, he said 90% of our engagements that we have globally, people all of the time come back to us and say, we want to change the name because we want to forget our past. The new beginning that we need to make. Whereas in your case, your past is as good as your what you are today. So they said we have to make a connection between past and present. And the past and present was IENT is a ticker symbol for our stock. We didn't change it even now. Even in the stock market, ticker symbol is still IENT. Infotech, enterprises. I is Infotech, ENT is enterprises. So therefore, they said, take this word client, take the Y out and put I there. It sounds like science, Cyient, and it also has IENT in it. That's the story for it. That's how.
Thank you so much, audience, for your question and a fun interactive session. So this brings to the end of our book launch event. I would like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, sir, for sharing his wonderful thoughts. I'm sure that the book is going to provide a lot of learnings and takeaways for all the readers. So you're a source of inspiration for the entrepreneurs in our country, and the lessons shared by you are insightful and actionable. The memoir Engineering in India captures the essence of your life, a must-read for students of different domains and specialization as well as practitioners. The talk reinforces the need to think entrepreneurially and have the zest to pursue your dream. I'd also like to thank Professor B.S. Murthy, Director, IIT Hyderabad, organizers of Innovation Day, specifically Professor Surya, Dean Innovation Translation and Startup, and ITIC to have contributed in conceptualizing and executing the book launch event that provided an opportunity to all of us to hear from Dr. BVR Mohan Reddy, sir. Further, I shall thank the audience comprising of members from the industry, the faculty, staff, and the students of IIT Hyderabad for their active participation in the event. We look forward to each of your active participation in all activities undertaken by the Institute in the future. Thank you very much. Have a great day ahead. Stay happy and take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, brother. You did a phenomenal job, Bhagyashree.